Hey, jazz lovers around the world. My name is Emmet Cohen, and I'm here as part of the Jazz Cruises series of Q&A, interviews, hangs, and I couldn't be more thrilled to be speaking to one of the great and one of the leading pianists of our generation, of the world, someone who has inspired almost everyone to touch the instrument after him, and someone who's just one of the down home, most beautiful human beings we know. And I'm going to introduce you to him now, Mr. Sullivan Fortner. Hey, Sully.
I was hoping you was going to keep talking. I'm got my
uh,
mouth full over here.
well, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go too. I don't want to embarrass you too much yet.
Well, I'm
Um,
glad you didn't, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me, man.
yeah, it's so nice to see you. I haven't seen you in person in a year. I think
Yeah,
actually one of the last times I probably saw you maybe it might have been the Jazz Cruise
yeah, that sounds about right. I think it probably was the last
in
time.
February
Hmm.
of
Yeah,
2020. It
of
seems like
2020.
we've lived like maybe a few lifetimes in that
I
span
know,
already.
man. I know. It's pretty crazy. I always tell everybody it's like everything's just been clumped into like two time zones, like uh pre-COVID
BC, we call
and
it BC
BC
and
and DC during
yeah,
COVID.
during, yeah, we're not out of it yet.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I just wanted to ask you how you're doing. How people usually start from the beginning, but I think it's maybe better to start from the now. Say how you doing. How's this year been for you? How have you been dealing with everything that's going on in the world, inside and out?
Oh man. Well, I've been I've been hanging in there. Yeah, we've been I've been doing a bit of practicing, just a little bit. I've
Mm,
been cooking a bit, which has been a kind of a newer passion, so to speak.
yeah.
Um, I've been doing some reading. I've been um, taking French lessons.
Wow.
Um, and just we've been doing some recording, some writing. I've been doing some a few gigs here and there, just live stream broadcasts,
Yeah, we
teaching and
seen you.
things like that, like kind of like everybody else doing. Not
Yeah.
not quite on your level, but
My
um
level.
yeah, man, you doing something every week. Seem like 2 3 times a week I'm seeing you on the computer doing something, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I'm just quarantined and kind of in between Brooklyn and Manhattan with my girlfriend in Brooklyn. She keeps me busy.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, so it's cool.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. I relate to the things that I've been working on this past year have been kind of at the piano, but also I've been learning to cook. I've been working on my yoga practice,
Oh yeah,
reading a ton, and you know even I haven't had this much time to open any sheet music and check out some classical piano in what feels like years. Have you been kind of diving into any of the classical repertoire or found time kind of meditating on that at all?
yeah, man. I've been looking at some of these Godowski reductions of Chopin etudes,
Mm,
which have been I've been clunking at it really, really, really slow.
yeah.
And I've been also dealing with what else is there? Schumann. I've been looking at some of his oh man, I got the book here. I'm spacing out on it. Novelettes.
Okay. Yeah.
I've
You know
been,
you're the one that hit me to Schumann.
yeah, that's my man. I'm in love with him. I'm in love with his music. Um, what else have I been dealing with? I've been kind of going back into like the basic, just sight reading Bach every day. Just
Yeah.
you know, trying to get that together, and it's very slow for me. But
That's that's
reading
funny.
through the fugues.
I asked Brad Meldo one time. I said, how do you practice? When you're at home and you're doing your thing. He said, Bach in the morning. Bach in the morning.
But Bach in the morning. That's right. It's like
Every
taking a
morning.
bath. It's like
Yeah,
taking
he
a
said
bath,
Bach,
man.
Bach in the morning. If I don't play Bach, I'm not ready to start my day.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
which for me, it's been more like yoga in the morning these days. Um,
Good
you
man.
know,
I've been doing that. I'm not really yoga, but I've been doing these. T25 Insanity Max 30.
Hey, Sean
X the
T.
Sean T, boy, Sean T's been kicking my butt
He'll
every
make you
day.
sweat. He'll make you
Yeah.
sweat.
But it's
That's
weird though because I do it and then I get on the scale and I'm heavier than so I'm like, well, maybe I gotta counteract that, exercise, couple it rather with good eating.
well, no, Sean T. He's all about muscle building, so muscle weighs more than fat. So that's
Well,
why
this this
you're bulking up. It's good weight. It's good weight.
I hope so. It doesn't look like it's good weight. I don't see no abs.
You
I
look
see more
good.
rolls. I see more rolls than abs.
Oh my God,
More dense
Sullivan,
creases.
you look great. You look great. I can't wait to see you again when all this is over. Um, and so you said you've been teaching a little bit too,
Yeah, just a few
like private
private lessons,
lessons, group
few private
lessons.
lessons. Not really group lessons. Mostly private stuff.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting because I keep it pretty informal.
Hmm.
Uh, so I don't really necessarily call them lessons, even though
Yeah.
I guess technically they are. I mean, they pay me, but I just love to hang out and just
Yeah.
talk piano with people and learn from them, and hopefully they get something from me, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Was that how a lot of your favorite lessons went? Kind of just hanging out, or maybe you could talk about a few of your best teachers and kind of how they imparted knowledge upon you.
Oh, yeah, a lot of my lessons, if I think back to like my lessons with Peter Martin, it was
Mm.
like my first piano teacher per se. Before then, I was just kind of, I mean, I had piano teachers, but back then it wasn't like, okay, it wasn't important that I learned my scales. It wasn't important, just okay. I was able to play like little short pieces and be like, all right, so we'll play a gospel song and I'll sing,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
That's it.
But I remember my first lessons with Peter would be, he would just kind of sit me down, and it wasn't like a scheduled lesson per se, but he would just kind of sit me down and he'd say, "All right, Sullivan, I see you play this chord," and he'll play whatever, and he'd be like, "Do you know what the name of this chord is?" Like, no, and then he'll tell me the name of the chord,
Mm.
you know. Or he'll tell me, look, man, here's a record. Go listen to this record. Come back and play it for me next week. So I go back, I
Right.
listen to the record, and play it back for him next week. And that was kind of like what it was for that year I studied with him.
Wow.
Um,
And how old were
Miss,
you?
oh man, about 13,
Wow.
13,
Okay.
14.
Like while
And
you were
then,
studying classical piano too, or that's all.
yeah,
That's
my,
what you're
my
doing.
classical lessons, I took half hour every day with a
Wow.
lady named Dean Curtis. And she was kind of like the piano teacher that the jazz guys went to who studied there. So
Hmm.
like Courtney, I remember Courtney Bryan, who was another great piano player from New Orleans, maybe a few years older than I, but she really got a lot of her classical work back at Oberlin and back at Noka and
Hmm.
before even with Dean Curtis. So I studied with her. And then when I went to, I mean, of course, I had Mr. Esnode and Mr. Polara and so many great teachers who kind of showed me the ropes. And
Yeah.
they were always very, very kind, and it was very, very loose. It wasn't like, here's a packet. I never had the packet. Like, here's a
Yeah.
packet. Go come
Yeah.
back next week and play chapter one of the packet or play
The
chapter
Billy
two.
Hart packet. We know it.
Yeah, the Billy Hart packet. I never had that. Although Dan Wall back at Oberlin was a little bit more structured. He had worksheets
Hmm.
with like different voicings and voicing interpolations and different things like that. But I never really. I just looked at them. I never really shared those things till much later.
Well, that's what you
you
do
know.
in that time. You kind of accumulate as much information as you can, and then you muse on it. When you do
Yeah.
have the time after you're done with school, when you can finally relax for a minute.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So like the path of your teachers. I know we have a few bonding points,
Hmm.
especially. especially with some of the great teachers in New York. I'm thinking specifically of Fred Hirsch,
Mm-hmm.
who we both took with at integral times in our lives, and also potentially our biggest bonding tour de force, and some argue the greatest teacher to ever teach jazz. That's Mr. Barry Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I wanted to know how your experiences were with Fred, and how he kind of shaped some of the way you think about piano and jazz and improvisation, and then also the other side of the spectrum, which is Barry Harris.
Uh, well, let's see. Fred, I mean, it's kind of like Fred was kind of introduced to me through Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Moran, who
Oh,
I studied with.
I'm forgetting about Jason too, but
Yeah.
I never studied with Jason, so that's like a good New York trio that you had there.
Oh yeah, it was definitely, and along that same bloodline of Jason is Fred,
Yeah.
because through the great Jackie Bayard, so
Mm-hmm.
they both really kind of stressed the importance of solo piano
Yeah.
and two-handed openness, which is something that they were really, really big on. Um, Fred never sat at the piano at any of my lessons. Fred never played or didn't, as we both know. He'll just kind of just like sit at the couch and just fold his arms and sit and watch you. And he'd
That's
be like,
funny.
"Yeah, I don't really like the way your feet look, man," or like, "I don't like the way your hands look. Why don't you try sitting lower?" You know what
Mm.
I mean? Or if he was really in a good day, he would really let you have it with like with like some specific things. He'll just go down the list, like the way you played the melody here sucked, blah 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 blah. You
Yeah.
know, Jason was a little bit more, demonstrative, and he loved to play games with you. So all of our lessons with Jason was kind of like, all right, here's the entertainer. I remember one lesson was, here's the entertainer. You have 15 minutes to come up with a solo piano arrangement of it. I want it organized. I want it structured. Don't
Mm-hmm.
come in and just play whatever. I want to hear you play this song with an arrangement. Go through each stanza. I'm like, okay, you
You
know.
want
And
you want to show us on the piano what you might have done
oh no, I don't want to
behind?
do
No.
that.
Something like that.
Well, it wasn't so straight. He wanted me to kind of like just really kind of use imagination on it. So I kind
Yeah.
of went through different keys on it. I
Wow.
remember kind of like changing the groove up a bit. Let me see if I could try. Let me see.
Yeah.
See
Just
if I remember. I just kind of
but
pokey pokey tokey tokey.
not what you did then, but what you may do now, given the same exercise.
Uh, some crazy. I just
Yeah, that
kind
is
of went
crazy.
in. You know, and
Beautiful.
then I would do like, yeah, my lessons with him was always very always about pushing kind of like the normal kind of, because where I was coming from with Jason was a little bit much more from like Keith Jarrett, Bill Evans kind of
Mhm.
school. And Jason really wanted to kind of open that up into like a little bit more of an angular, maybe a little bit more of a spread out use of
Yeah.
the instrument. And Fred kind of came at a point where he had to kind of really kind of taper in the reins and just be like, "All right, bro, look, that stuff is cool, but we got to kind of got to organize and structure it in a way that's that sounds more fluid and more organic and a little bit more body connection to the instrument."
Yeah.
You know.
Uh, how much do you turn to your breath when you're playing, and try to, like connect, like you were saying, just to the inside. I find myself going to my breath a lot Even before I started meditating and yoga and all that stuff, I would find my breath while I was playing. I'm wondering if you also kind of go back to that.
Oh yeah, consistently. I'm always kind of like more than I'm aware of like the notes that I play or whatever. I'm like really cautious as to like how much I'm breathing, like,
Yeah.
you know, how I'm, on a good day I'll pay attention to how I'm sitting. That doesn't really work all the time, but like different things that happen in my body, I try to be more and more aware of, especially now that, quarantine has kind of happened. It's kind of given me a chance to kind of just step back and actually look at old videos of myself and actually see if I'm breathing or actually see if I'm
Mhm.
doing things right. And maybe when I practice it, I turn on a video camera and just record and just watch myself,
Yeah.
like just really kind of go through it.
Yeah, you mentioned all the stuff Fred said, getting used to
Hmm.
sitting lower, getting used to sit lower on the piano bench, and that's something that I got from him. And it's funny in my lessons with Fred Hirsch, he would always play. He'd be like, no, no, it should be kind of more like this, and he would play,
Really?
and I would hear the sound come out of the piano. I said, oh, that's the sound I'm supposed to get out of the piano. Like, let me try to get that. And our lessons were a lot more focused. Maybe it was the time in my life
Uh,
when I was seeing him. Um, you
that's
know,
not fair because he would never play for me. He would
you know,
never play.
he was like, I can't describe how to make you better, but it should be more like this. And the sound that he got out of the piano taught me almost more than anything. I said, wow, it's
Yeah.
possible to get that kind of sound out of the piano. Maybe you already had the sound. He didn't want to mess with
No,
it.
I didn't. But I think his thing, yeah, I mean, I think, although he's a really good teacher and he's really good at explaining things, kind of like Barry, kind of going into Barry, how they're connected,
Yeah, let's talk about Barry.
is that as great and articulate as they are, they're still very old school in the
Mm,
sense that like the bulk of the information you'll get by listening and watching them play.
right, right, right.
You know, I mean, every time I hang out with them, I got to remember that, okay, I had to kind of take my school hat and kind of throw that in the garbage can and just
Yeah,
let that, because the way they learned was hard knocks. You know what I mean? They're not going to say, oh, well, the reason why it didn't work is because the way you did this interpolation on top of here and you had this kind of technical thing. They're not like that at all. They're just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
man, it just don't sound good.
yeah. It's
Barry,
good
I
or
don't,
bad.
right. I asked Barry one time, I was playing from him. He said, "Man, you sound pretty good, man. You do. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there you need to get rid of, though." And I'm like, "Okay, like what?" He's like, "Man, I mean, I could sit here and I could literally tell you what I think, but it's not gonna serve you anything. You just gotta sit with it. You gotta
Yeah.
flush it out. I will tell you more triplets.
Always more triplets, right?
Always more
Always.
triplets. That's about it. You
Yeah.
know."
I see. I see. You do some stuff sometimes where you're accompanying and it's a jam session and you got an arm on the knee and accompanying, and I love that too because there's a certain kind of sound and I know that sound and it's like a very Sullivan thing, and I don't know if I got that from you, but if you're in a jam session, it's the 70th horn player that's playing. The arm goes on the knee. That's
Yeah,
like
man.
that's a no for Fred or Barry or Sophia
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
or
Oh
anything
yeah.
like that. But I think it's so distinctly Sullivan. I love it. Yeah, I love when
Yeah.
you're breaking the
It's
rules.
funny. It's funny because I didn't think anybody noticed
Yeah,
that.
that's my
I
favorite.
just like sit down, just
I don't know if I
start.
picked that up from I picked up a lot of stuff from you,
Uh,
and that might be one of them. I
don't pick
remember
up the bad stuff.
I remember, you have so many fans out there, especially piano players. Any young piano player you ask, who's your favorite? Any older piano player, who's your favorite younger piano player? You're always in the list of people they'll say. And I have this one memory when we were at the American Pianists Association competition, maybe 5-6 years ago. Now we're backstage, and we're hanging in this little piano there, and you're talking about, I love Disney films, and I love, I'm like what's one of my favorite tunes, Sullivan, be our guest, or be my guest. Would it be our guest? Be our
Be
guest.
our guest.
And you sat down at the piano and you just played like, a couple of verses of Be Our Guest, and I was like, wow, this is another kind of mind that Sullivan has, to just be able to channel everything you've ever heard into something that you can express through your soul and your fingers.
Wow.
And that was just a moment where I was like, this guy thinks differently than all the other people that I've ever met and encountered before. Is that like a product of some kind of photographic memory that you have, or just that you learn a certain way by ear and you're able to retain?
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's really nice of you, man.
I don't know if you remember that moment backstage, but it's stuck with me.
I do. I do remember that, because it was one of the few moments that the five of us had together.
Yeah.
Without interference of, like,
photographers.
And photographer
and
or a
for
monitor, just making sure we're not doing anything ridiculous. You know what I mean?
For those of the people out there, we're talking about the American Pianists Association competition that happened not this time but last time, and Sullivan took home a big $50,000 prize from that.
Yeah, you took it home last time.
You just would have to remind everyone of that.
But yeah, man, it was just one of those. It was just like one of those rare moments where you have five piano players in one room.
Yeah.
And we're just hanging. And it's not about. And even though it was a competition, for that moment, it wasn't. It was just the five of us hanging out as friends, And we just happened to have a common ground, which was the piano,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that moment was interesting. For me, how I've always learned music is, just learning by ear, and being expected to learn as much as I could and have as much as I could memorized.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, after like one or two hearings, because the way the choir director at the church that I grew up with worked, she would be like, "All right, I want to do this song. I know you haven't heard it before. Go upstairs, go in my office, put this cassette in. You listen to it with the drummer." Okay, so I go in there. 5-10 minutes later, she'll look at me. She's like, "All right, you got it?" I said, "Cool. All right, I'm ready to play it." And she's like, "Sullivan, what's the alto line at the bridge?" So I'm learning the music part, and I'm not expecting. I'm like, okay, if she's teaching the choir, so all I got to worry about is the music. No. I had to actually learn the part that the choir was singing and play along with it. So I would be playing and singing the alto line and singing the tenor line and singing saying, "No, the altos go here or the tenors go here." My mom would be so mad. She'd be like, "No, how do you know that? Like, that's not right." And then we go back and listen to it, and I'd be right.
Yeah.
So it would be things like that.
Yeah.
That kind of helped to prepare me to actually not just hear what the keyboard player is doing, but to hear everything that's happening around me, and to be able to memorize it and be able to retain it.
And then
so like 5 years down the road, she could just pull it out and be like,
Right.
"Oh yeah, all right, cool." And that really helped with all of the bands that I played with, just that type of grueling training.
That was actually the segue I was going to make. I was going to say, that sounds like something that would really serve you in the band of someone like Roy Hargrove, where I guess he had a Rolodex of tunes that was almost endless. 200, 300, 500, 1,000 tunes that he might draw from any night, and he would live DJ the set. Like whatever he was feeling in the moment, he would start playing this tune, and you either knew it or you didn't. And I never got a chance to play in his bands, and I can imagine how nerve-wracking it might be to know you might get called anything. He could call anything on you. But I don't know if I'd seen anyone do a better job than you. You know,
Yeah.
and especially in the later years of that band. And I just wanted to know how it was kind of being in that band when you joined, and how it was on stage learning all that music, and maybe what you kind of took away from Roy, and how you integrate that in your being.
It's funny. I was just talking to Shannon about this like
Mm-hmm.
2 days ago. Just the whole
Shannon
Roy
Shannon
Hargrove.
Powell Shannon Powell for all of you watching.
No, not Shannon Powell.
Oh,
The
Shannon Effinger.
Effinger. Yeah,
Okay,
Shannon Effinger.
journalist. She was
Journalist.
asking
Yeah,
you about this. Okay, okay.
yeah. Um, I got the gig with Roy because my one of my really good friends and schoolmates at Norca, Northern Central Creative Arts, Jonathan Baptiste, some little low life guy y'all probably never heard of.
Yes.
Sorry, John. Love you, man. So
Yeah.
he called me and he was like, I double booked myself with Cassandra Wilson. And I have a whole like 2 or 3 weeks that I can't make with Roy. Can you do it? And I had just met Roy maybe a few months before at a jam session. I was like, okay. So I didn't think much of it until his manager Larry Clothier called me and was like, "So Sullivan, we have these gigs lined up. I wasn't gonna hire you, but I heard about you through John Baptiste, and I heard about you through Rodney Kendrick, and I thought that
Right.
maybe it would be a good fit if they recommended you. Then we'll give your ass a shot." So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right.
Sounds like
So
Larry.
very much so. So I did the first date I remember I did was at the Dakota in Minneapolis,
Mhm.
and Dwayne Burno was playing bass because
Wow.
they were in transition of bass players, and I think they had just started playing with I mean, but I mean was doing rhythm roll through Jazz at Lincoln Center, so they
Mhm.
got Burno to do it, and I showed up late because my flight got delayed and did the sound check. I'm like, all right, where's the sheet music? No sheet music. I'm like, okay. We told you what records to learn. I was like, yeah, but I didn't think I was going to have to memorize 40 songs for one gig. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, in between the sound check and downbeat, I had like an hour and a half. So I memorized as much as I could in that hour and a half, which is like 5 songs.
Yeah.
And then I show up to the first set downbeat. Roy calls a song that was not on either one of those records.
Right.
Typical Roy fashion. So the first tune, Roy is basically yelling at me, telling me what to play and when to play it.
Yeah.
All right, so they start out with like this weird 12 tone row, and then they look at me, and then after they play it, Roy does a cue, and then Berno says D7. I said, this don't sound like no regular D7. So I just start playing all kind of chords on top of it. And then after they play another cue. And then Roy goes into like another section, and then Justin takes over. D sus, D sus, and he sings a melody. And then the next thing is F minor blues, and that's my solo. And
Hmm.
like F minor blues up here. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So that was the first tune. Audience
Hmm.
packed audience. Prince is sitting behind me the whole entire set, watching this whole thing go down, and I
No.
didn't know he was there. Oh yeah,
You're for
yeah.
real.
Prince came backstage afterwards with Larry Graham. I
Wow.
could have peed on myself. I saw that. I was like, you got to be kidding. There's no kids. And he asked about me. Say, so who's the piano player? I'm like, no! I just wanted to die. I knew he was gonna say something horrible. But he
Wow.
was really, really nice. He told me I had to get a new shirt because he hated my shirt.
That's what Prince said to you.
Yeah, he said, man, we gotta get a new
Well,
shirt, man.
he
That
would.
this FUBU shirt you got on ain't happening. We gotta get you something else.
Wow. Wow.
And that was my
That's
first gig, and I did that gig for 7 years. And every
wow.
night there was that same type of energy where I kind of didn't know what was going on. I had to use my ear, or like he'll show me a song at sound check, and then we won't play it until a month later,
Right.
you know. Or
Right.
he would show me a song, and then I have to teach the bass player how it goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the same those same kind of principles that I learned in church. I would carry with me with Roy's band and with Cecile and Stefan Harris and a bunch of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Cecile, who is one of the greats to ever sing this music, sing any music. And how has it been to cultivate that piano? Oh, there we go.
Hey,
That's not me. That's Lee pulling it up. Though for those of you who don't know, that's Cecile McLaurin Salvant, and Sullivan has been playing with Cecile for 2, 3, 4 years. How many years now?
ooh, now it's about 5 years almost.
Five.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
about five
Corona
years.
has me all
Yeah,
thrown
current.
off. But
Well, if we don't count Corona 4 years,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Hey, there you guys are.
there we are.
Um, it's a beautiful magical combination, and I've heard you. I think the first time I heard you guys was at NJ Pack, and you guys we opened for you. Um, we played piano trio before you guys at NJ Pack.
Was it
Um,
McBride? Or was it?
no, I was playing with my trio, and
Oh,
and 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 I remember the band. It was Ben Wolf and Brian Carter. I'm sure you
oh
remember
yeah, I
this
remember
now.
that. I remember that. Yeah.
And they were like, you have a 20-minute set, and I played, I played 21 minutes. I got yelled at like worse than I've ever gotten yelled at on the side of the stage for playing 22 minutes. And Cecile saw it go down. She said, "Hey, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. We're not mad." Um, and it was a whole thing. But then I sat on the side of the stage and got my lesson of how it's really supposed to be done. And you guys played some magical stuff. Everything from Cole Porter to Stevie Wonder to original stuff, and it was such a magical concert. I think just at the very beginning of you guys starting to play together. So how has that journey been? Developing that, playing with her band, playing duo, um, involved in different projects. Obviously life partners, everything like that. It's beautiful.
Well, I wasn't
Sorry,
trying to
so
go to
snuck
the.
that in there.
I wasn't trying to go through that whole life partner thing, but if
No, no,
you
you don't have to.
insisted, but
No, no,
it's
you don't have
okay.
to talk about.
I
You
mean,
don't have to
because
talk
that's.
about
I
it.
mean, but that's like I guess if I'm going to be honest, that's one of. If anybody who knows us,
Yeah.
uh, they know that that's one of the ways that our relationship has evolved.
Oh yeah.
Um, um, so much so that we don't really play at all when we're together around the
Hmm.
house. Anything, we just we spend more time talking about books and movies. We watch a lot of movies. Uh, she curses me out because I leave a lot of I leave too many things around the house. Leave food in the couch, and I'm a regular dude, so
You're from New
I'm from
Orleans.
New Orleans, man.
You leave food on the couch in New Orleans.
It's funny. Her next album, she wrote a song called Trail Mix, and that's because of the little like residue of trail mix that I leave in the couch and the bed, stuff like that. But I digress. But yeah, in the beginning of us playing together, I met her. Um, how did I meet Cecile? I met Cecile just walking down Harlem. I was hanging out with Jasmine Horn,
Hmm.
who's another great singer.
Yeah.
And from there, we ended up doing some. We sat in together at a jam session at Jazz at Lincoln Center, and then from there we did. I asked her to do a gig with me at Mesro, and I was so scared. I was like, she ain't gonna want to play with me. She got nominated for a Grammy. She don't want nothing to do with me. Blah blah blah. And a friend of mine, she told me, she said, just call Cecile. I'm sure it's going to be great. And she agreed to do it, and it was like one of those moments when you play with somebody, you feel like immediately you feel like you're at home.
Yeah.
Like you're not self-conscious when you play with that person. Like they can, like you feel like they can handle you.
Yeah.
and you feel like you don't have to walk on eggshells to protect them, or to comfort them, or to kind of guide them. You just, however you want to play, we're gonna roll just like that. you
Wow.
know that that type of trust was there immediately, and it's only evolved from there, for
I
sure.
remember. I remember that weekend. Actually, you did 2 nights. You did one with Brianna Thomas, and
That's right.
I was at that gig, and
Hmm.
then the next night was Cecile, or one, adjacent night was Cecile, and
Hmm.
maybe I heard a recording of it or something, because you're always the talk of the town. I don't know if you know that, but
No, I did
people come
not.
to people come to your gigs with the recorders, Alexander Claffey, Chris Pattershaw, people out here, even me. We have little recordings that that float around of Sullivan
That
Fortner,
is so funny, man. I didn't know
and
that.
and
That's hilarious.
it happens. It happens, when you're someone like and everyone knows that you wouldn't Sullivan wouldn't mind either. There's some cats that would be like, "How dare you do that?" Sullivan Fortner, he's like, "Yeah, I played it, and you have that, and I'm gonna play something different next time, so
I
doesn't
mean,
matter."
hey, man, it ain't it. I say this all the time. It ain't. Music doesn't belong to any one person per se. Whatever I play, it wasn't mine to begin with. I got it from my teachers,
Yeah, May,
or the records that I checked out. Yeah. So
Harold Mayburn said the music's in the air all around us. We just
that's
reach out,
right,
and grab little pieces of it here and there,
and hope that it sounds good.
right? But I remember that weekend. That's amazing that was the beginning.
Yeah.
It's I feel like fortunate to kind of have been around, your New York moments, and we've kind of come up together in New York. And I've been here for 8 years now in the city,
Hmm.
and seen you in so many different scenarios, and jammed with you in two hands on the piano, and
Oh
smoke
yeah.
at 3 in the morning, and
Hmm.
sat down at the Hammond B3 organ,
Organ stuff. Yep. Hmm.
and had you come play with my band singing, while
Oh
I
Lord.
accompany, and just so many beautiful experiences in New York. um,
Yeah.
I think that you really enriched a lot of people's experience, moving here, just with
Mm.
the human being you are,
Oh
and
man.
just with the attitude you have about music, because there's a lot of cutthroat, there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of bitterness, and for lack of a better word, bitchery, that 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 goes on, that
We
goes
talk
on,
about
and
that, but yeah.
that goes on, and I feel like you've been a consistent, force against all of that stuff.
Mm.
Not outwardly outspoken about it, but just a positive force that counters all of that. And how's your experience been in New York, integrating into a scene of never ending people who are all shifting around, who are your friends and your bandmates, and you know just New York. It's been a whole journey, but I want to know if you have any thoughts on kind of your New York experience.
Oh man. I I mean, first of all, for me, I'm just grateful to be here
Yeah.
and to be a part of it. I mean, when I was going to school at Oberlin, New York was like this. Excuse me, New York was like this fantasy for all of us. Like, I mean, I remember having lessons with my piano teacher Dan Wall back at Oberlin, and being like, man, my senior year, and said, man, do you really think I could actually be okay in New York? Like, do you think I'm actually good enough to play at Smalls? Or, like, you know what I mean? Do you think I'm good enough to play at a place like, I don't know, Minton's or Smoke, or whatever? He would be like, man, you say, honestly, Sullivan, you can do it. I think you can do it. And I just kind of, I don't know if I necessarily believe them, but I just kind of went out on what they said. And I remember Dan basically telling me, he was just like, when you go to New York, don't, don't go in there with any kind of false pretenses. Don't go
Mhm.
out there with any kind of air, because there's so many people in there. There's
Yeah.
so many wolves. There's so many great musicians there. And just do what you can to be kind to everybody, respond to emails,
Right.
respond to phone calls, be kind and be cordial to people, because there are a lot of great players that didn't get opportunities, and not because they weren't good musicians, but because they weren't nice people.
Yeah.
And I don't think I really necessarily had to worry about being, being one of the smack talkers, because I'm a fan of everybody's. In fact, I was talking to Benny Green a couple of days ago, and I was telling him, I was just like, man, I said, I honestly just feel like I have the highest respect for anyone that decides they're going to sit down and play the piano.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's a battleground, you know what I mean? It's just like the odds are always against you. The odds are 88 to 10, and it doesn't get easier than that.
In the words of Johnny O'Neill, the piano always wins.
That's right.
And
That's right.
you've got to negotiate with it every single night. You got to negotiate with that piano.
Every day you got to come there and be like, look, I know you don't like me. It's okay. Let's just get through this, because I know once Emmett sits down, you're going to love him. Or once Victor Gould, or once a Shy Maestro, or Gerald Clayton, or Micah Thomas, or Isaiah Thompson, or Johnny O'Neill, or Harold Mayburn, or Christian Sands, or anybody. If any of those guys sit down there, you're gonna love them. I know you're gonna love them. Fred Hurst and Ethan and Jason and all these people. When they sit down at the piano, you're gonna love them. So just endure me for like these next few minutes, and I'd be most grateful to you.
I know. I love that you're naming names, because that's really what the music is about.
Yeah,
You know,
man.
I asked Tootie Heath. I said, Mr. Heath, how are you playing? 86. You're 86 years old. You've been playing, since you're 4, 5, 6. With coming up, with your brothers. How does this music keep you interested and engaged for so many decades, a whole lifetime? He said, man, it's not the music, it's the people. It's the
That's
people.
right. That's right.
And
I mean, it's like everywhere you turn, it's like it seems like my mama used to say, everybody, their mama play the piano. And that's true. It's just like everywhere you turn. I mean, there are horn players that will outplay piano players.
yeah,
I
right.
mean, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So there's no room for you know any kind of any type of head trips, so to
right,
speak. Yeah.
right. So I'm wondering what kind of gets you motivated about music these days. What do you hope to kind of put into the world in the next little while, and what are your hopes and dreams for people in general all over the world? We're talking about people. Is your music for people in the world? What what is it that you want for humanity?
Um, that's an interesting question. What do I want? Well,
For yourself,
I
for
think
others?
I kind of battle with the idea of music kind of being exclusively for the people. I battle the idea of music being exclusively for myself.
Right.
Um, I'm constantly questioning why I play, and I'm constantly questioning what it is I want to say, because part of me feels like I'm a part of a community, and I'm a part of a culture that that's all about constantly breaking rules and pushing things forward. But then I also come from a community of people that's like, hey, don't forget your roots. Don't forget where you come from. You know what I mean? And don't forget about don't forget about your mama. Don't forget about your daddy and your sisters, people who don't like jazz. Think
Right.
about people
Right.
like that that's in your family. You know what I mean? But they love you and they respect you. What are you going to say to them? Um,
Through your music.
through my music.
Right.
Through my music. Am I going to say something that shuts them away? Or am I going to share something with them that that brings me to them, the Sullivan that they knew for 34 years outside of the piano. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Am I going to bring that through my music?
Right.
Um, am I going to bring what type of aspect of them am I going to allow myself to show them? You know, do I allow myself to show them the complete me, which isn't all that pretty sometimes, or am I going to just show the pretty parts? You know what I mean? Am I gonna show my fears?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of fear that I've been battling with. I've been kind of coming face to face with, especially during this last year. It's just like, man, why are you afraid to do that? Just do it. Nobody cares if you're afraid. Nobody cares. You can't hide behind your fear because everybody can see that you're afraid. But once you let that down, nobody cares. Why are you so protective of it? So what if it leaves you naked? Good. Let people see it. Let them laugh at it or make fun of it. Whatever. Just show it. Move on. You know. Um, so I guess ultimately, I'm just striving to be the most transparent Sullivan I can be behind the piano.
Yeah.
I would love to say something that reflects my past and hopefully, on a good day, my future.
Right.
I want to honor the people that that taught me, you know. I want to honor the friends that I have. I want to honor, you know, I want to honor God when I play. I want to I mean, I just want to be honest and I want to be for real and I want to be true and I always want to be a student.
Right.
And hopefully every time someone hears me, that's what they hear.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And yeah, I can't think of any better way to sum up how I would want myself to be too. So
Yeah.
I mean, you're an excellent role model for so many. I will say that I have like a couple pictures hanging on my wall over here, and this is one of them. I took it down for this. Right.
That's our wedding photo.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for the time we had on the jazz cruise. Just hanging out at the piano, 3 a.m. Um,
Yeah, man.
Maybe Benny Green comes by and we're all playing for each other, and it's moments like that when you really get to know people. You
Hmm.
show me all this, for years and years you'd be showing me all this kind of Jelly Roll Morton stuff and all Willie Lyon Smith and Art Tatum, and you got all this stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm still working on hard bop in the 1950s. You inspired
Hmm.
me so much to go back in the past and check out stride piano and
Hmm.
spend time with my ancestors who piano ancestors who played that
Hmm.
stuff.
Our bloodline, keep it in
And
our
so
bloodline.
I keep
How
it on the
that's something that I want to ask you actually, because I know that uh, I guess you're supposed to be interviewing me, but I'll ask you something. um, how do you how have you been able to maintain such a drive behind just behind your career and just behind your musicianship and just constantly pushing? Because I see you, man. I tune in every week on your Monday nights, the clubs, and you're always on the go. You're always on tour. You're always recording with some master. You're always like, how are you? Yeah, I mean, look at this stuff, man. How are you able to maintain and to just keep pushing and keep going?
um,
You know, what inspires you to do that?
wow. I think it's very much, first of all, the community that I'm a part of. I feel so lucky to be around, musicians like Kyle Poole, who plays drums, Russell Hall, who plays bass, Evan Sherman, who
Russ,
plays,
man.
right, Jamaica, Evan Sherman, Brian Carter, Yasushi Nakamura, Joe Saylor, I'm talking these are the rhythm section players that I've spent so much time with in my generation, and and yeah, there you go, Russell and Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
And a funny story about that record right there, "Dirty in Detroit," was we were on the plane from somewhere, to go to Detroit. I think maybe Minneapolis to Detroit, and we're sitting. It's like 6 a.m. We're on the plane, 1, 2, 3 in a row, and Kyle gets a call at 6 a.m. from Cecile's manager, and says, "Hey, we're gonna need you if you're available for." This was like September. We're going to need you for October, November, and December. This guy, Lawrence Leathers. There he
Oh,
is. There he
there he
is.
is.
Lawrence Leathers. He's moving to Paris or something. He's taking some time off, and we need you. And Russell and I right there said, "Hey, man, we got you. You got to take this opportunity. This is incredible. Go." It was one of the moments, and then it was like, well, this might be the end of our band. We've been on the road. Let me see what I can do. I'm talking about always being on the go and on the drive. Like, I'm just an idea. I have ideas all day long, and I try to make them happen however I can. So my idea on the plane was, we got to get this gig recorded, because this could be the last time, wherever. So we're going to Detroit. So I get on the phone, leave a few messages, people in Detroit, "Hey, any recording engineers?" We got someone to show up to the gig that night and the next night, and recorded
Wow.
it. And it was like, there was this energy, like, this is for posterity, and I think we played like it was, like it was gonna be
Like it
our
was the
last
last time.
time, and then we had to
That's
get
what's up.
we had to put our concept down on wax, and then from there he went on to play with Cecile, and it's a family vibe, so he comes back and play with me, and we all play with each other, which is how it should be. So we didn't end up losing him forever, and he's been playing with me for a whole year every Monday, and traveling, and one of the greats out here.
Oh yeah.
Uh, you know,
Oh yeah.
he inspires me, to keep it going. Russell Hall inspires me. These people inspire me, because we're in a postmodern time where people don't call you up for opportunities anymore. You kind of have to make them happen. And I got a chance to play a little bit with Jimmy Heath in the Dizzy Gillespie alumni band, and there was one night where I was sitting next to caddy corner from him. We took a bus down from New York City with the whole big band to Kennedy Center. We played on New Year's, and it was my first year in New York, and I learned more sitting on that bus listening to Jimmy Heath speak than I had in any other setting in my entire life learning jazz. Any camps, any jam sessions, any private lessons, anything. And
Yeah.
see he was talking about Bird coming over the house, and John Coltrane, having dinner with his parents, and his old brother Percy playing with the Modern Jazz Quartet, and he's saying all these things, and you read about them, you watch them, and you listen to the records, and you talk to people who have studied the history, but he was saying it was a first-hand account, and I hadn't experienced it like that before, and I said, man, I got to be around Benny Golson, I got to be around Jimmy Cobb and George Coleman and Albert Tootie Heath and Houston Person and Sheila Jordan and Harold Mayburn, and the list goes on. Ron Carter, of course, and Buster Williams, Billy Hart, all these people, Victor Lewis, and now I am going naming names now, right?
Hey man.
That's what we do. It's about the
It's the
people,
community, man. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so and I wanted not to be only about me, but I wanted to bring as many people in to play with these people. So yeah, Russell Hall's on this album, right in the middle with Tootie and Benny
Evan Sherman.
Golson.
Oh, is it?
That's
Oh,
Tootie
that's
Heath.
you. That's you. You look like
That's me.
Evan
Yeah.
Sherman in this picture.
Well,
No.
same heritage.
Same haircut. That's all. Same
Same heritage.
tribe.
Yeah, so bringing different musicians in for each album, and trying to have the whole generation learn something. So that's what I kind of realized that I wanted to do, and now it just kind of developed naturally. I try to do everything as naturally as possible. Derek Kwan called me up, said, "Hey man, I know you're supposed to play here this Monday. This was a year ago yesterday, as of this recording." And he said, "I know you're supposed to play here yesterday at the Lead Center." Derek Kwan's the promoter that spent a lot of time at Jazz Lincoln Center, who now runs the Former Art Center in Kansas. a huge jazz fan, advocate, and real human being.
Oh
And
yeah.
he said, I know you guys are, living in New York, 1 block away from each other. You're supposed to play here tonight. We'll send you the full fee if you just turn on the phone and do a little live stream and bring some positivity into the world. We think we really need it right now. And so we did that. And I was also inspired by what you did with Cecile. People, you guys did a live stream at the very beginning of quarantine, and it like really saved people's lives, saved people it stopped them in their track and reminded them of the positivity and the uplifting spirit that jazz has to offer. And I remember sitting in my house watching that, being like, wow, this, the quality is just on a phone, but the heart and the humanity and the message and the music and the realness and the funk and the soul and all that is coming through, like, just like I could be in the room. You guys are laughing, having a good time, you're eating your snacks and then playing, and she's harping on you for something, and she's reading the comments, and you guys take a request, and you play something you never played before, and then you play something you always play, and it was just like it was just the real thing. And I was like, I was inspired by that. I was inspired by Derek, and we ended up doing it. And I'm a little bit of a perfectionist in my life and all things, maybe not a perfectionist, but always looking to improve, like, how can I do this better? And so it turned into this big production with 4 cameras and a sound guy. And I learned a little bit about microphone techniques, and a lot of nights staying up all night on YouTube, researching how to do this and how to make it work technically with the computer and all that stuff. But it was like, the kind of thing, like, if I don't do it, then who's going to do it? That's how I kind of feel, and the balance between sitting and playing the piano and then figuring out how we're going to get the music in front of people. That's always been my thing, and how to get the band on tour and sleep on people's couches and play. I'm very grassroots kind of oriented. And I think a big part of the driving factor is the band, and wanting to keep Russell and Kyle working and playing and the people uplifted. And so it's not always easy to get up in the morning and go to work like that, but it's not always easy to get up in the morning and play piano either. It's not always easy to get up and exercise. There's so many things, and like you were saying, it's all about the balance. And we are artists, and we're extreme people, and our balance is going to be like this some days, and then it's going to be like this some days, and then it's going to be like this. And I feel like that's why we get along so well, because we understand, that the different intricacies and what goes into playing and teaching and putting on productions and stuff like that. But whenever you guys are feeling safe and ready, there's a home for you on Monday night, and we've done a lot together before. When you're ready, you let me know. You'll be sitting right here. We're sitting right here.
I'm coming, man. I gotta get I'm getting a vaccine, I think, hopefully next month. So
okay, I have half. I have half.
You have half. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to do another gym hang.
Yeah, and we missed our hang on the cruise this week. I mean, this year.
Yeah.
Would have been a couple weeks ago. But I know it's coming back next year. So all you out there watching, on behalf of the Jazz Cruise, is putting on this production tonight. We hope you'll join us. And Sullivan, we're nearing the end, but my favorite Sullivan quote of all time, I told you yesterday when I was like, I sent you a little voice memo saying, "Hey, I think we got this interview tomorrow. Should we prepare for it?" I was joking, because I know we don't prepare for it.
We ain't gonna prepare for it, man.
It was a joke, but one of my favorite quotes of you, whatever you're pontificating in the back of Jazz Lincoln Center, less talking, more playing. And playing speaks for itself. I was wondering if you would be willing to take us home with just a short little something on the piano. People sat through an hour of us talking, and maybe you can cleanse the palate before we say goodnight with just a little something.
Oh my God!
You acted like I wasn't going to ask you this.
I was hoping to God you wasn't. What could I play, man? Let's see. Um,
You want a request?
I'm scared of your request.
I was gonna say, in Houston person said, when you don't know what to play, you play the blues.
Oh yeah, that'll work. Will it?
That's my request.
Okay. I'll. What can I do? What blues though?
Is Cecile standing right there?
No, she's locked
No,
in her
she
room
left.
somewhere.
She's watching though. She's watching this.
Uh, I play. Mm, yeah.
Hey, sounded like Sullivan Fortner to me. Sounded like an honest, pure expression of Sullivan Fortner to me. Sullivan,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and your energy and what you bring into the world. This world is such a better place because you're here in it. And I can't wait for the time when we're back cruising and hanging at festivals and um, you know, doing then we jazz continues to adapt, humans continue to adapt, and we do whatever we can. Do you have any final words for the peoples?
Oh man. Just continue to support jazz. Continue to support all music. Um, um, yeah. Support is the best way you can. That's how the musicians live, and that's how the music keeps living. So support Emmett, support me, support everybody that plays this music.
Sullivan, we love you. Thank you so much,
Love you too, man. Thank you.
and thanks to the Jazz Crews, thanks to Lee and Kaylee who put this on. Thanks to all of you who watched. We hope to see you soon, and we hope to see Sullivan right here in my apartment in the next coming number of weeks.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, for sure.
Sullivan, thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Much love.
Yes, sir.
Take it easy.